Hey, mates, welcome to More Meets the Eyes. I'm Blind Prime, and my co host Cream the Cat is sleeping over here. And for today, we have the vehicle mode for Transformers Age of the Primes Silverbolt in his Concord mode. Ooh, Concord, the fastest passenger jet. Yes, yes, it was so fast it needed to actually do special things to land. This is a truly amazing vehicle, and it's like the Blackbird in a vehicle that it's a shame they stopped they stopped using it because it's awesome. It was a good plane. It used a lot of fuel, and I really wish they'd come up with a new type of plane like this. Maybe they have, and it's just too rich for my blood, and I just don't know. But the Concorde was famous for jumping the puddle of the Atlantic Ocean between New York City and Washington, D.C., and probably Boston. And it would go to L.A., not L.A., it would go to London or Paris, and I think a couple of other places in Europe. But it was like a 2-hour flight. It was insane how fast the Concorde was. Famously, the creator of Muppets, he would use the Concorde so that he could do the Muppets Night Show in London, where it was filmed, and then he would use the Concorde to fly back to New York City, and he'd film a Sesame Street episode, and then he'd use the Concorde to fly back to London, and he'd film the Muppets episode, and then he just constant flying back and forth. That man was always on the move, always. So let's talk about this really cool vehicle that's got a lot of history behind it. And like I said, it's a shame that it isn't used anymore. Truly a shame. So let me go ahead and put the little wheels away, all of his landing gear. We talked about the landing gear in yesterday's Blindformers episode. And today's episode will be about just comparing his size to other things and talking about the feel of this action figure. And, how I think about it as a blind person. Do I like it? Do I not like it? How are the textures? What's the sculpt work like? And, those are the questions we'll ask today. So first off, I got some Aerobots here next to him. If you could see, you've been sitting here looking at him the entire time. I'm going to just give you an idea of sizes. So just to start this off, he does not scale with the other Aerobots in his Concord mode. His Concord mode scales with only a few things, and I can tell that by how these little windows on the sides feel, how small they are, and I'm like, oh, okay, I kind of get the scale that you're going for here, Mr. Concord, Mr. Silverbolt, and it is not the scale of the other Aerobots. Like these guys, the other Aerobots will look nice with some of your your Chug Scale Transformers, like Chug Scale Bumblebee here for Studio Series 86. And which one are you? Are your Air Raid? An Air Raid. The Air Raid, his cockpit and the driver's seat for this thing are very similar to one another. It still feels like 86 Bumblebee is a little bit bigger in scale than the Air Raid here. Which is kind of a shame, but it's close. It's really close. And it's not... But then you do comparing Bumblebee to the Concorde here, and you got to understand that one of the Concorde's landing gear would be about the length of a VW Bug. So, no, let's see. What is your landing gear like? Yeah, that's not the scale. That's not the scale at all. Bumblebee is very, 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 very small compared to the Concorde. And you can't really see that because in this perspective, it looks like Bumblebee... I mean, Concorde's still bigger than Bumblebee, but, there's a large scale difference. So we're going to set... But first off, I guess I'll let you know how big the Bumblebee is compared to Concorde. So we're going to put the Bumblebee on top of the Concorde at the back of the wings, and the front of Bumblebee, if you go from the back of the wings of the Concorde to the front of the wings of the Concorde, the Bumblebee is about the length of that. And it's a little bit longer in the very center. But yeah, this guy, definitely a lot larger than the Bumblebee. We can set Bumblebee up on this block of Transformer underneath the Concorde, and we see that even the block of Transformer is longer than the Bumblebee, and the block of Transformer is wider than the Bumblebee. It's actually so wide that you could almost fit 2 Bumblebees on it. Isn't that wild? Like that's how big. This is pretty big. You know, Silverbolt is a big Transformer, even in vehicle mode, but it doesn't really seem like that because of the scaling of his vehicle mode. So that was Bumblebee compared to him. And we did Air Raid. There's a little Air Raid on top. Yeah, because a Concorde is definitely a lot bigger than an F-15. I think this is it's either an F-15 or an F-14, but definitely a Concorde is a lot bigger than them. And you're not really seeing that. Like, he should be a lot smaller. And then we have Slingshot here, which Slingshot is a Harrier, if I remember right. Harrier jets are fun, and there we go, this little comparison. They're not in this right scale either. So, but it's okay for Slingshot here, because I don't, as much as I like the Concorde mode, it's not the right scale, so he can't be on the same shelf as other things, because it will bother me when he's in vehicle mode. But it's okay, because mainly I'd keep him in robot mode anyway. So we're going to set the 2 guys off to the side. Now, did we bring anything else? Did I transform anything else for this video to do a comparison? Oh, no. Right, here it is. Now, here's a size comparison that is almost right, but not quite right, because in the comparisons, the Concorde is still larger than the Space Shuttle. And the Space Shuttle should be... The Concorde should be a little bit bigger to be scaled with Skylinks in vehicle mode here, because you can see with the windows, Skylinks' windows and this guy's windows are vastly different shapes. And it's kind of a shame. It would be really cool if Silverbolt here in his vehicle mode was at the same scale as Skylinks' vehicle mode. But sadly, that's not the case. But I wanted to showcase the closest scaling of vehicle modes that any of the Commander class figures have. As Commander class figures go, I looked through them all, and this guy's it. So Skylinks and Silverbolt are the closest to each other in scale. Silverbolt is still a different scale than Skylinks, because technically Skylinks is still a bit bigger than Silverbolt. Skylinks fits more on the scale of the core class, but Silverbolt is sitting closer to Titan class scale. For instance, we've got our handy-dandy helper that we've had with us for a little while now, who just kind of sits over here off to the side, Mr. Triptacon. And we're going to drag Mr. Triptacon over, which means we've got to move 86 Prime over here so he doesn't get knocked over. And now we can just ease Triptacon forward. Don't knock anything over. Thank you. Don't knock anything over, because Triptacon is huge. I'm going to lower your head. Okay. So, we've got Triptacon here. And I'm going to stretch out Triptacon's arm. Here it is. Yes, Triptacon's arms get stretched out. Hopefully they're in shot. I really hope they're in shot right now. We're going to drag them just a little bit closer. Make sure it's in shot. What was that I knocked over? Okay, it wasn't important. Are we good? Can we get just a little bit closer? Yeah, there we go. All right, now let's do the comparison. So Triptacon here can grab, so we're going to put the tail of the Concorde in Triptacon's right arm, and we're going to put the nose of the Concorde in Triptacon's left arm. Okay, now Triptacon can't really hold these because he just doesn't have ratchets in his hands. And if he had ratchets in his hands, this would be awesome. I'm just being straight with you. We can kind of pick it up a bit. Maybe you'll hold on to it. Will you? Will you? He does! He holds on to it. Isn't it beautiful? That's the scaling right there. Yes. So let's just little bit more, having fun here, because I like showing off size scales because they're just so cool. Pick up Triptacon. We're gonna slide Triptacon over onto the stage. Oh yeah, he barely fits on the stage. There we go. Now you're going to get a better idea of the size comparisons of Triptacon with Silverbolt here, because it's awesome. And I love it. Where's your arm? Here's your arm. Give me your arm. Give me your arm. Put your arm around. Thank you. Grab his... Where's your other arm? All right, get your other arm involved here. Come on now. Oh no, I can't do it again. What changed? There it goes. Ah, it's so awesome. Triptacon's so large, and the Concord Silverbolt size, I think, is a great scale with Triptacon here. This works very well in my opinion. I don't know about the rest of you, but I think giant kaiju monster grabbing a Concord out of the air and about to rip it in half is perfect scaling for Triptacon. It works. It works on all the levels. Now let's move Triptacon away. Triptacon, you're gonna have to. Oh my god, how am I gonna move you? Okay, come on, Triptacon, come on. You gotta go move over here. Lord, you're heavy. Okay, up. Don't you screw up here. Come on, Triptacon, put your feet down. Hey, don't you step on that. Whew. And he's large, and he's in charge, and he likes to step on everything because his feet are big. That was Triptacon. Now, the final comparison I have is we're going to compare him to a Legend scale figure. We got a Legend scale right here. Starscream. Now, Starscream, I think, is a better fit. Still not quite there. Not quite. Still, the sizing is slightly off, but it is better. It is so much better to have Starscream here as an F-16, or is it an F-15? I don't remember. I know Air Raid and Starscream are not the same vehicles. So, Starscream here. Oh, did you lose a null ray? He lost a null ray. That's a shame. I don't know what happened to it. It could be anywhere. So, there we go. A little comparison with Starscream, the Transformer. Nice. And finally, for final comparison, before we get into really going in depth with this guy, that I'm trying to show you everything I possibly can about this. So we're going to slide him over there. And we've got Omega Supreme. Because, you know, I just wanted to showcase Omega Supreme. Lower your arm, sir. There it is. And can you grab it? It doesn't work. He's too heavy. Yeah, I'm feeling around with it. I'm like, oh yeah, no. He's too heavy to be held in the claw. But it's still kind of cool. The claw looks pretty good. And that's a little, you know, Omega Supreme can wear him on his chest like Triptacon wears lift on his chest. That's just cool. I think it's fun. I love the giant robots. We all love giant robots. Megas XLR for the win. That's a Transformer I want to see, honestly. Megas XLR definitely would be a headmaster. Slide him over there so I don't mess him up. Okay, now that we're done with our size comparisons, I know that took a little extra time, but I just wanted to make sure that you, as the viewer, got a really great understanding of the scaling of this. Now, we're going to go over how it feels in the hand, and that's not going to take too long because it's kind of a simple vehicle mode. So, one of the cooler aspects about this vehicle mode is they actually included the special thing that the Concord does. The Concord was a unique plane in that it went very fast. We talked about that earlier, but it needed to stop. When something is going that fast, it's got to stop, and it's got to stop hard, or it's got to take forever to stop. It's either you're going to stop slow, but it will take you forever. So, I mean, if the Concord wanted to stop like a normal plane, it could probably do that and land in Columbus, Ohio. But if it wants to stop in New York City, it's going to have to stop in New York City. And that meant that they needed to design this plane to stop itself. And it's very similar to how a Canadian goose stops itself. When you see one of those fly down from above, they spread their wings out, they lower their feet down, and then they just kind of wop, 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 until they stop. And that is very similar to what's happening here. The wings get spread out a bit. You know, they're already pretty spread out. And what it does is when they're landing, they go almost vertical. They go more than 45 degrees. I'd say like 60 degrees. But when they're doing that, they still need to see the ground. And that's where this fun bit comes into play. The nose, where the pilots sit, actually, and it wasn't 60 degrees, it was more like 45. But when they did this, as they came down for a landing, the nose would bend forwards to a little more than what you can do with this figure. And that way, because it would almost be as if they were looking down at the ground. And that allowed them to get vertical enough to slow down by making this huge wind block of all the wing stuff. Just big old wind block there. But the pilots could still see the ground while that was happening. And I thought having an articulated pilot's cockpit was just awesome. It was just really, really unique and interesting. And it's fun to have that in a vehicle. I absolutely love that part of the Concorde. I was like, how do we make sure the pilots can see the ground? Well, why don't we just move the cockpit down on its own little articulated rails? Just so clever. Such a clever design. You gotta give it thumbs up to those French engineers who built this Concorde, because that is just such a clever design. Good job. I'd like to shake one of their hands one day. Now we come around here. So that was the nose. I wanted to show off the articulation there. Now let's take a look at the rest of this. So we've got multiple cockpits. So in the nose area, it feels like there's some big windows there, so that they can get a good line of sight happening. And then you go back over here, and above the cockpit, we've got more windows up here. And these are for, I guess, passengers that pay a lot of money. They can have a nice little view. Or that's, I guess, maybe a sky lounge for people to have a drinks while they're waiting the 2 hours it takes to go across the ocean. I don't know. Never been in a Concorde. But I imagine that's what this upper area is there. It feels like it's another, it's an area where people can sit. Then we come down below that area, and we've got this big line of windows that goes all the way down to the wings. And it actually goes through the wings. You can feel the texture going all the way back to the very tail of the plane. There are windows all the way down, and that is cool. They textured. It's not a sticker. It's not paint. No, every single solitary window is textured. It's just, wow. Did they have to do that? As a blind person, I appreciate that they did that and consider them, yeah, you have to do that because I'm a blind person. But at the same time, did they have to do that really? No. As a blind person, I want them to do it. But in reality, they did this because they wanted it to be a good piece of work. They wanted it to be almost a piece of art. And that's how it feels. You get this wonderful texture. And even at the fuselage, where the joints are for this everything to fold up and stuff, they tried their best to mold them into the fuselage of the Concorde, and made them instead kind of feel like they're emergency exits. Like right here at the wing area, here's a joint that allows the tail section to pick up, but that joint is textured in such a way to make me imagine, while I'm feeling it, that those are actually the emergency doorways at the wing section. And those would be what opens up in an accident, and people could climb out on the wings from those two spots. And then you feel up here, closer to the front, the pilot area, you've got another couple of bumps. But these are on the higher section where this upper cockpit thing is that I called the Sky Lounge. And that makes me think that this must be little escape hatches for anybody on the second floor of the Concorde, so they could have big old slides come down from there and them sliding down from up on that second floor. There's even more. There's all sorts of little textures just etched into this thing, and it makes it feel better. Like right here, we got the little textures that make me feel like this is a section of the plane where it connects to the that little bridge that connects the airport to the plane. I mean, it could be somewhere else. I've been trying to find out where the door is on this, and the door is very, very hidden. Because you would think there'd be a nice little symmetrical line displacing the door, but not really the case. Maybe the door is on the other side. Let's see. I mean, it is built in Europe, so maybe it's on the opposite side. That feels like it could be the door, right in front of the wing, but I'm not exactly sure. But it does feel like it could be a door. Now, coming back here, talking about the rest of this plane, The tail fin is really well textured. On each side, we've got these wonderful little lines etched in there, and it feels thick and sturdy and strong. It feels like something that a Concord would have. Everything about this is pretty far in scale with it. Like you don't get anything like, for instance, you have where's Slingshot? Slingshot's an example of something that I will talk about on the day we talk about Slingshot, but Slingshot's scaling is definitely off. Yeah, here's Slingshot here. His tail is a bit too small and not the right scale for the rest of the plane. It's kind of annoying, but they didn't do that with the Concord here. Not with Silverbolt. Silverbolt's scale is all right all the way around. When we flip him around to the underside, we've got this big old blocky thing. And that's why I compared him earlier to Skylynx, because Skylynx is a really nicely sculpted plane that's sitting on top of a big blocky thing. Just kind of works. I really wish that this was a bit bigger of a Concord, but at the same time, I understand what they were trying to do. They had to figure out how to get Silverbolt's shape out of all this for his robot mode, and the fact that Silverbolt does have the fuselage of a Concorde hanging out behind him in robot mode. And it's sometimes I appreciate the really going for that G1 animation look or G1 toy look, but at the same time I go, yeah, I think it would have been we could have done that transformation differently. Like, seriously, his legs could have become the fuselage, or his arms could have become the. I don't know. There's other things that could have happened there, but what we got was pretty good nonetheless. So my final thoughts on this vehicle is going to be, it gets an A minus. I want to give it a B plus, but this texturing, the sculpting on this thing, the way that this Concorde feels, it is very, very good. And I just wish it was in scale. But that's my only negative to this vehicle mode. I mean, other than the big square of robot stuff hanging out from below it. So, yeah, no. B plus. They really tried with it. They really tried hard with it. But at the end of the day, one of these modes had to get sacrificed to make sure the combination worked right and the robot mode worked right. And they sacrificed the vehicle mode this time. And it's a shame they couldn't get all three modes correct like they did with Menasor. I mean, Motormaster, vehicle mode, excellent. And I like the trailer aspect. With this guy, that's not really the case. And I wanted to try and figure out how to combine him with his big old square of parts, but I have not been able to figure out how we're supposed to combine this guy. And some people have said just put it on top and latch it into place. And I'm like, cool. And then they go, yeah, use the red latches. Cool. What's red? I mean, I didn't think this guy had any red. I thought he was like all white and blue. Did he have red on him? I don't really remember. So I don't really know how to combine these two things together. They just, pardon me. I've just been kind of letting them sit because I've got nothing. I've got no idea. Unless, of course, you're supposed to attach him to this other piece here. And then everything is supposed to attach around this chest piece, because this chest piece does have the two square things needed to attach the body. Like, we could kind of, and I don't know if it will work, but no, it won't work. It's just there's not enough space there, I think. Is it? Will it work? Will you actually snap into place? You know what? That's something we can talk about tomorrow, because tomorrow's going to really be the video where we talk about this extra stuff. Because tomorrow's video, we're going to talk about Superion, at least in skeleton mode, and compare him to Menasaur's. We're gonna be doing some fun piece swapping things. But the Super Condor mode, I haven't figured it out, because I have a tendency to overthink these things. I think they're a lot more complicated than they actually are, and they end up being really simple and kind of stupid looking. And that always gets me. It's a lot simpler than I ever give it credit for. That was the same with Triptacon. I actually asked for perspective and for help with Triptacon because I couldn't figure out what I was supposed to do for city mode. And then he's like, oh, just split the legs in half. No, okay. I definitely was overthinking Triptacon. definitely overthinking. But I blathered on long enough about this this cool figure. He is a cool figure, and I can't deny that. The Concorde was one of my favorite aircraft. Next to the Blackbird, I just love them, and I absolutely love the fact that I get one in scale with Triptacon. In scale with Triptacon, and I'll take it. I'll take something scaled to Triptacon and Black Zarek and Omega Supreme. I think that will work out very well. But thank you all so much for watching today's video. I've been Blind Prime. That thing sleeping over in the corner of the screen has been Cream the Cat. And I hope all of you are having a wonderful day. Please tune in tomorrow. We are going to be having fun with combiners. Until next Prime, bye-bye for now.